Okay, so we talked about how to georeference just an unmapped image, like this JPEG, onto an actual map in QGIS. So we'll go through the steps for how to do that. First of all, it would be very nice if we could guarantee that the projection that was being used in the map was the same as the projection in the image. There's sort of no way to tell from this image. It is probably a little different, or else the image is very casually drawn, and so it's going to get warped and stretched to match this map behind it. So let's close the JPEG in the image viewer here, and we're going to, in QGIS, go to the raster menu, and I've installed the Georeferencer plugin. I'm not sure if it comes with it installed or if you have to add it, but you just launch the Georeferencer. And here you have an Add Raster Data button, just like the Add Raster Data button here. If you add it in this location, it will show up in the middle of the ocean. But if we add it here, we just navigate to it. And yeah, it does not have a coordinate system associated with it. That's okay. But let's go through the georeferencing process. So this button will allow us to execute the georeferencing once we plan it. We're going to use this button here that allows us to set new control points. We'll set one control point in the image and its partner in the map. One control point in the image and its partner in the map. One thing about QGIS and this georeferencing plugin, it has been my experience so far that if you use the pan tool and you pan around in the map, or if you use the zoom tool, you will lose control of the georeferencer and have to start over. So for this exercise, I'm just going to leave it at the scale and location that I found it. So here's how we add control points. We try to find a few identifiable spots that are well distributed across the map. I'm going to try and find something in the east, the west, the north, and the south. Let's start with this little arm that's sticking out into the water here. I think it probably ends, well here, we don't even have to do the end. We can do this sort of top knuckle bone here. Put a point here. And then this dialog box pops up. If you knew the coordinates, you could type them in. But instead, we're going to put a corresponding point on the map canvas. And that would be this little knuckle right here. And we say OK. And we notice that that link gets added to our links table. Let's try this foot that's sticking out here in the southwest. So we'll get this corner, and from the map canvas, we'll go get this corner. Okay. How about something over on the east? Well, if you look at the coastline, this map has part of County Louth in it as well. I'm going to shoot for this corner along the ocean, and we'll match it to the map. Like here. Okay. Let's get, oops. Let's get something in the south. Like this point. Oops, I guess I don't have my links. Link. Let's get this point. And on the map canvas, that is probably this point. And then one in the north. We'll get this little finger that sticks up here. This one. And I guess it's this one. That's probably enough. 5 or 6 is a good target. These numbers are relatively small when you're talking about, you know, under 20 pixels of error. So let's georeference it and see what happens. Hey, it says raster was successfully georeferenced. But if we close this, it doesn't really show up here. It's not hiding behind the towns. you can't really zoom to it. And the reason for that is, remember the error about you don't have a coordinate system. The coordinate system that we're looking at, the on-the-fly coordinate system here, is 3857, which is pseudo Mercator. If we right-click on that image and go to Properties and change its assumed coordinate system to be that 3857 pseudo Mercator, oh, it shows up right where we want it to. And we can drag the towns layer up above it so we could see whether we did a good job or not. Let's see. Oh, my goodness. Let's zoom. How do we do? Not too bad. You could, if it really mattered at this point, I believe you could launch the georeferencer again and try to match up, this point, and maybe this point. But you're never going to get it perfect. One thing to understand is that you're never going to get it perfect. Now, that's georeferencing. We also talked about digitizing. So we could turn off the towns for a moment. And suppose we wanted to mark on a new layer these famous sites. Like they're tombs and castles and I guess something, the town of Kells maybe, where the Book of Kells was written. Let's suppose we wanted to create a vector layer that represented these sites. So we go to Layer, Create Layer, New Shapefile Layer. We're going to keep it in this 3857 projection just so that everything matches. We can have a field called Name that will tell us what we're labeling, and there's already an ID field. That should be enough. We need to give it a name, so we'll call it Meath Sites. And then if we open the attribute table for this, there's nothing in it. We need to put something in it. But you see, there's that name field that I created. The way we put something in it is we need to edit it. So we toggle editing, and all of a sudden this editor toolbar becomes live. This add feature button gives us a cursor which will drop new points. So if I start here on Hill of Tara and I drop a point, I can tell it it's site number 1, and I can fill this in as Hill of Tara. Then I can drop type. I would drop a point here, but I guess trim is what it is. We'll put it right there. ID number 2. Trim. Okay, good enough. I can't read this one, so I'm not going to put a point on it. Let's get Kells. ID number 3. I'm going to make a typo. I'll put my name in there. I'll make a typo. Oops, I made a typo. So while I'm editing, I can in fact go to the attribute table and hand change entries in the attribute table as long as I'm editing. This is also the exact same environment where I could add a new field, do field calculations. But when I'm done, whenever I have as many points as I want, I toggle that editing, turn it off, save my edits. And now if I turn off the map, and even if I turn off the base map and change the symbology a little bit here, let's make them bigger. Let's make them stars. And then we can turn the movement back on. Yeah, they're not even all that big, but you can see they show up and they are actual points. And they have an actual attribute table, and we just created that from scratch. We could have created a polygon layer and actually traced this outline and had a polygon. We could have created a lines layer and traced the roads. So this is called digitizing. This is how you digitize features from a georeferenced image.